Hey, what's up guys, it's LEGO Hobo910 here with another LEGO video. And in this video I'm reviewing set number 76118, the LEGO Batman Mr. Freeze Batcycle battle. So let's get right into the review. We'll start with this odd little Mr. Freeze kind of snowmobile type thing. It's really odd and it's kind of funky, but for some reason I kind of like it just because it's weird. Throughout the set you'll see a bunch of odd silver pieces like this. I'll point them out. They come in this pack that came out with this Batman wave and are now in the most recent Marvel/Spider-Man wave and whatnot. There's a bunch of other pieces like this. I'll point them out when we get there. They come in, one of those packs, standard packs, like the power blast explosion things that came out, I believe, a year or two ago. So you'll always get them in a group. This set does use all of them, but there are sets that don't use all of them, and then you end up with extras of them, which is kind of nice because they're really cool, unique pieces. Here's just a few of these little disc pieces. And there's these odd little kind of, I guess, pipes, maybe snowblower type things. And then there's, skids so it can slide along in the snow. And then Mr. Freeze just fits in there by standing in it. It's kind of oversized and odd. It's definitely a very, very wacky build. So here's the actual, what LEGO likes to call the Batcycle. It's more of like a tank to me, or quad bike. It's really not a motorcycle. It kind of is a motorcycle with this odd feature which I'll show you later. For now we're going to start by looking at it like this. As you can see, it's a very symmetrical build right down the center with these alternate arches and then the two Batman stickers there. The windshields look kind of odd considering, they're way below. I don't see why there's kind of, what's meant to be glass there. And there's a stud shooter in the center, which shoots off a projectile which uses one more of these new kind of head pieces. It comes with 4 of these warhead type pieces. And then on the side, there's these kind of guns which use some more of the new warhead pieces there. As you can see, that one's slightly rounder and this one's more skinny. Then there's a standard printed tile in there, as well as then a chrome grate tile there. I like the use of these pieces along the side to connect the wheels. And then also to connect the wheels, kind of as hubcaps, they have 2 more of those silver pieces along either side. But yeah, I like the usage of this piece and the sticker there. It looks very interesting, and I accidentally shot that off. That's in a very easy position to shoot off. And then Batman and Robin just kind of stand in it. Robin's kind of hard to get in and out considering he's shorter. Then there's 2 pretty standard printed consoles in there, as well as in kind of what's meant to be their seats. Now, something I really like about this vehicle is all the clips for weapons. As you can see, there's a clip for the Batarang there, a clip for this, and then in the center there's also a clip for the grappling gun, which uses this new grapple piece as well, and that can just be shot off like that. Obviously there's no actual string connecting it. I'd like to see LEGO work out a way to make that work in the future. That'd be very interesting. And there's these 2 large fins on the back. Now let's get to the kind of main feature of this. So you're probably wondering what this feature is that's so unique and weird that I'm talking about. You can take the bike and split it in half to create 2 separate motorcycles. So that way, if there's like maybe an alley too wide for this to fit, they can split apart and then go in separately. Or if they want to cut off the villain or something. It's definitely kind of an odd gimmick, but also feels kind of very Batman-y, just having this odd, weird thing. This one's definitely my least favorite, as it takes the center bit with it and then has these pins sticking off. That can be changed, though, if you just want to pull that off, and then you also have to pull that pin out. And it doesn't look quite as bad, but then you have to have this floating around as well, and the split isn't quite as smooth. It's definitely very weird. We'll look at this one first. It's the same build. The inside isn't too bad. There's a bit of red there, and also all the technicals, and then, of course, the fin can rotate. I don't see why you'd want to do that, though, but it has the capability to. And then, this is just the same one, except mirrored with the whole center console. Like I said, the inside on this one definitely looks worse. Even if you take this one off, it's still not as good because of that, and then also all the red in there just doesn't quite fit very well. This is definitely an odd little gimmick for the vehicle. I personally prefer it just as one vehicle, and also when you split it apart, it kind of becomes slightly fragile, but, I just think it looks better like that. It's definitely better in every way. but it's a thing that you can do if you so please. So here are the three minifigures, Batman, Robin, and Mr. Freeze. We'll start with Batman over on the left. This is the same version of Batman that comes in pretty much all of these Batman sets, the most recent wave. He has a Batarang, and then this version has this grapple gun that I showed off briefly earlier. It's just a stud shooter with, a built-up launch using that new hook piece, which I honestly think is way better. I don't mind it so much when they, build it up and make it creative. It's much better than just shooting the stud. And also it doesn't go quite as far, and also it's larger, so, it's easier to not lose. I like the torso print for this version of Batman. Sad there's no leg printing, though. And then, of course, one problem that we've had with Batman recently is the face printing is way too pale. As you can see, comparing him to Robin, they have nowhere close to the same skin color when that is meant to be that skin color. I also like the use of the goggles to get the whole eye thing there, because normally they put like a headband around, which looks odd, but I think having the goggles pushed up, it's kind of a neat look, to get the Batman eyes. And then he has an alternate face with a slightly different expression where he's smiling here instead. And then there's the back print behind, of course, the pretty standard Batman cape. Pretty, average Batman, nothing crazy or out of the ordinary. Now here's Robin, and I don't know too much about DC lore, especially like the whole comics and whatnot. I believe this is supposed to be the Damian Wayne version of Robin, just judging by the fact that he has a katana. But don't quote me on that, because like I said, I don't know too much about the whole Batman lore and all the different versions of Robin and whatnot. Here's the pretty standard spiked hairpiece. I really like the torso print there, and also the way it looks with the black arms and the green hands really contrasts and looks very, very interesting. He, of course, has, the short black legs, being a child. He has a short yellow Batman cape, to be the Robin cape. And the interesting printing continues around. I just really like the design of the torso. It has a very unique look. He has the one face where he's smiling, and then has an alternate face that has a more aggressive expression for, like, going into battle or whatnot. I really like this version of Robin, and definitely think it's a unique one, especially with, like, those black arms. I just love the way that looks. And then here's Mr. Freeze, the villain of the set, and also who the set's named after. On the back, he uses two more of those warhead pieces for kind of tanks to power his freeze gun. As you can see, this never wants to sit straight, though, just because of, the springiness of the whip piece that they're using for the hose. He then has this built-up gun build, which isn't too bad. It's not, like, crazy. I don't like it too much, but I don't hate it. It's pretty, simple gun build. And then there's this for scope, which you can obviously tilt slightly to get it to line up with his eyes better. It's just pretty simple. I'm gonna remove that just because it's kind of bulking in the way. Same with the whole back here, which uses this piece from the Ninjago line. I believe a little while ago, the Airblades, I think it was, and it used that to get the kind of 3 setup. He then has a pretty cool torso print. I like the way that looks. There's also a lot of small, kind of barely seeable prints under there with the light gray. You can only see when the light hits them right. And then just a few, like components and valves and whatnot to run his cooling. He then has this big dome head. I like the face print there with the goggles. Of course, there's no alternate faces that would be able to be seen through the big dome, but the visor just continues around with the strap. I'm going to take off the back piece there, which is what allows this to connect so you can see the back printing. Here's Mr. Freeze's back printing, which just kind of continues the theme of the front. I really like the whole kind of big silver device there. Definitely looks interesting. I also like the use of gunmetal gray for the legs as well as gunmetal gray printing throughout. Overall, the set is kind of odd, and that's partly why I like it, just because it's so weird and random. It's, of course, another Bat vehicle, which I already have a lot of, considering, that's the main thing that LEGO does with DC, is just make Bat vehicles. The Mr. Freeze vehicle it's really weird and odd. I would have liked for, the set having the name Mr. Freeze to be focused more around, some Mr. Freeze something. That's just a general complaint I have with the whole Batman line, is that it's a Bat vehicle, maybe a small villain vehicle for the most part. I would like more, sets focused on villain vehicles or, like scenery builds. But, for as Bat vehicles go, I think this is kind of an interesting one. The Batman's, pretty standard. I really like this version of Robin, and the Mr. Freeze is also good, considering we don't get Mr. Freeze that often as well. But that's all from me for now, and bye.